Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. It's just Joshua, and I'm bringing you another old school RuneScape guide. This one's going to be for 1 to 99 farming, the most effective ways in my opinion, and some of the most profitable ways as well. If you're brand new to farming, before we really get started, you'll need a couple items. You'll need a spade, a shovel, a seed dibber to plant your seeds, an axe for cutting your trees if that's what you choose to do, a rake because you need to get the weeds out of your plots in order to plant, secutors, which you'll actually get the magic variation from a quest that I'll recommend here shortly, and compost, either super or ultra. I suggest ultra. It helps speed up the experience, and it could actually help profit you better too if you do it on some trees and herbs. So some recommended items that aren't needed but extremely useful for doing farming is a full set of graceful. Anything you can do to preserve your run energy or make you run, longer is really good. You'll need as many teleports as you can get to the zones that I'll go over here shortly. An ectophile is very beneficial. An explorer's ring is also super helpful. The farmer outfit you get as a reward from Tith Farm, and I'll go over that briefly at the end of the video. That's actually one of my favorite ways to power level farming, and if you're interested in that, stay tuned till the end. And then an RD cloak also for the teleports. Now here's some quests that also give farming experience very early on. Recipe for Disaster, the Goblin variation, gives 1,000 farming experience, which ain't a whole lot, but it can help you get through the early levels pretty easy. Then the Fairy Tale 1 Growing Pains is actually the quest we have to do for the magic variation that I was talking about earlier. Now, for trees are going to be your most beneficial XP early on. Fruit trees and normal trees are going to be the main XP you get. Fruit trees take 16 hours to grow. I suggest doing as many as you can in planting them once a day, doing a daily run. And normal trees I also only do a daily run with, but you can do, starting at oak, you could do 3 hours, and they increase with times for the tiers you go up. So even at oak though, what I would personally do is I would do my highest tier fruit tree and an oak tree and do it once a day. Special trees are teak, curry, mahogany, calquat, and spirit. At level 83, you get your first spirit tree, and as you increase in levels, you actually are able to plant more spirit trees around the world. At 99, you can plant unlimited spirit trees, which are extremely helpful. And teak trees, you actually have to unlock, teak and mahogany, you have to unlock Fossil Island for. Herbs, there's a bunch of them. These are the ones that I suggest. Giant Seaweed, you can start at level 23. That's in the underwater zone. Ranar is level 32, and, going down with Cacti being the exception to this list, and the Cacti being an Alcarid right by the Duel Arena. I personally go off of whatever's going to give me the most experience at the time with these, because most of them will give you profit if you're doing it correctly, and if the market varies so much that if you tell somebody, one of them's the most profit, everybody's going to go out and do it and undercut each other, and it's just not going to be profitable anymore. So when you're watching this video, I highly suggest you take the time to check market prices. There's even some calculators on Rune Wiki and stuff like that that can help you out, decide how much profit or how much XP an hour you end up wanting to get. Now, I personally did not do Fairy Tale at first. I personally leveled mine through a method in Falador Park. The method in Falador Park that I'm talking about is actually buying potted plants. Now, these potted plants here are rather expensive, but they also help build your construction experience. I personally did the level 1s because I was pretty poor at the time, and the level 1s give 31 experience in both construction and farming simultaneously and only cost 1,000 GP each. I actually have a video on my channel showing the exact method and running in and out, where to fill your watering cans, how to unnote your plants, stuff like that. So if you're more interested in this method, be sure to check out that video on my channel, and I explain all of that. Now, to get started, this is what your basic, herb or tree run setup should be. You want a couple saplings, some money, rake, shovel, runes for teleport, and some compost. And basically, you just go up here. This one is the one at Tree Gnome Village, showed on the mini-map. But you just go and you remove the tree, you pay him. You can pay him to protect your trees. I always protect my trees personally. That is personal preference, but I want 0 chance of my trees dying, and I also don't like checking on my farm runs. As simple as I make this look, it's farming is still probably one of my least favorite skills, but this guide will make it a lot easier to understand and maybe more enjoyable for some of you. The second tree I hit is in Varick, and it's this one right here. Once again, you can go to the guy right there, pay him to protect your trees. I don't in this video just for simplicity. And then from Varick, I go to Lumbridge. And in Lumbridge, it's right behind the castle. And same thing, you remove that one, plant another, use your compost on it, and then we're going to teleport again. And this time, we're actually going to go to Falador, and we're going to go to the tree spot in Falador, and actually directly to the east of this, where the pond is, closer to the mining zone, is where the park will be. And or where the lady that'll sell you the bagged plants in the park will be, my bad. And then from here, you can actually either teleport to Taverley, or you can just run up. I typically run up because I figure by the time I actually go through the menu and teleport and then load and go, like, it's almost the same time anyways, so I run here instead. Same thing, you can pay, remove, compost, plant. And that's pretty much all I do for my basic tree runs, but now I'm going to go into a little bit further detail here, where these are going to be your fruit trees. Fruit trees are something I don't do, but I should. I highly suggest it. I've just personally been too lazy lately. But I highly suggest including your fruit trees into your normal tree run. For example, the Tree Gnome Stronghold is just stupid not to, because as you see, like that fruit tree is almost directly next to the regular tree. This one here is also very easy to access, very easy experience. This other one too, you just teleport to Camelot. And then you're going to run down all the way through here, through the other side of Catherby to where people used to fish a bunch of lobsters back in the day. And there's going to be a fruit tree right next to White Wolf Mountain. And after you're done planting it, White Wolf, you want to teleport to Artie. Then you can come down here, take the charter. Sail right over here to the island, and it's right by the Brimhaven agility course. On the other side of the pier is another fruit tree for you, pay him. And then here's a current list of a lot of the profitable experience per XP, or GP per XP, my bad, for a lot of the fruit trees. And you can actually look on Rune Wiki and find out, pretty much everything you need to know about what's the most profitable, what's the fastest XP. It's a phenomenal website, and it actually even tells you how long it takes to grow, what you need to protect it, and pretty much everything like that. Now, after you hit level 72, you're going to be able to plant Calquat trees, which are very cheap, very high experience, and should absolutely be incorporated into your farming run. Now, you can actually teleport down where I did, or the cheaper alternative is actually to just include the Calquats in your farming run from Brimhaven, and when you hit that last fruit tree that we just showed previously, just start running south and you'll actually get to this Calquat patch, and you can just plant the Calquat tree here and then continue with your other runs. So from the Calquat, what I did is use the Explorer's Ring, as I mentioned earlier, and that takes you right to the Cabbage Patch south of Falador, and you can actually just run partially south and get to this patch right outside Port Sarim. This patch right here is actually my preferred Spirit Tree patch, for when you can only do one Spirit Tree at a time, which you actually have to be pretty high level to hit a Spirit Tree anyways. But this is the first one I personally do, and it makes it very easy to teleport places because of how close it is to the Explorer's Ring teleport. Now, I know this might be a lot of information for some of you, especially, I mean, I know it was for me. Farming was one of the most intimidating skills for me personally. And even to this day, I still really don't like doing it, but I do like making use of the farming tree runs. They're very easy. Once you get them down, you can be done in only a couple minutes, because really all you got to do is click your options, dig them up, plant your seeds, use your compost, stuff like that, and keep teleporting around. And I like to include stuff like, if I'm going to a Slayer task, I'll kind of base how I do my farm run around that. So let's say I gotta come, or I gotta go to the Rune Dragons or something, for example. I'll save whatever tree or herb patch is closest to where I gotta go for my Slayer task, and then by the time I'm done with my Slayer task, maybe two, then it'll be time for another farm run. Now, when I was power level farming, I was doing the Tith farm, and I would base it around that. I would base it so my last herb patch was actually the closest one to Tith, and then just run there. Or teleports, they make it so that's not absolutely needed, but I like to be kind of uniformed and work in a circle so I don't miss anything, and so I can just plan to go around the world that way. Now, when you're doing these herb runs, some people like to take different methods. Now, some people like to go for the raw money per herb, which is very common. Some people like to use these to stockpile to build their herb lore. Some people might already have high farming and herb lore, but they like to be self-sufficient and save money for their Slayer trips and build their potions and their overloads and stuff like that through doing these farm runs. And it's really all up to you. Some people like also doing the allotments next to the herbs and planting the flowers to preserve your herbs. I don't get into farming that much, but you absolutely can. Almost anything you grow through farming is going to be profit, with the exception of trees. So if you want to grow some watermelon or some strawberries while you're also doing your herb runs, go for it. I mean, it's extra experience, and depending on how hyper focused you are on farming, they could be relatively beneficial. You can also use, the watermelons and the strawberries to preserve your trees and stuff like that, which, going back to the whole self-sufficient thing, a lot of people like to do that. Now, if you go on the wiki, you can actually get up-to-date, based off of GE prices, what's going to be the most profitable for you. And this can actually greatly influence your farm runs if you really know what you want to do and how to do it, and you kind of got a monetary goal set behind it. Now, there's going to be two other kind of things that we can do here. And one of them is going to be giant seaweed, as I briefly mentioned before. And really, you just got to take a couple boats over and go underwater, and then you can harvest these. Now, these are actually really good experience, especially at low levels. I personally don't do them because they're a little bit out of the way and they're not really profitable. I mean, you only get like 10 or 20k for them. It's not super worth it, but if you're just worried about the farming experience, I would include them in the rotation as well. I personally rather spend this time doing Slayer or Tith farm and getting the money, and then doing the bagged plant method because it's faster but more expensive. Now, over here, you just teleport to the Duel Arena, run a little bit south, and you have now approached the Cacti path. or the cacti plot, sorry. The cacti is the only one in the game. It's right here, and it's really cheap, really easy experience, and it's right next to the duel arena. So there's almost no travel time included, and it's 100% worth including into your rotation. And that about sums up the farming guide. I know I did it a little bit differently. A lot of other guides cover a lot of stuff out there as far as like the actual XP rate, like the actual XP numbers and everything like that. And so I didn't really go over that. I wanted to more base off of my personal approach and how I kind of handle that entire situation. Because I feel like all the other information's already out there, and I wanted to do it a little different. So from 1 to 34, how I power level is do the bagged plants. As soon as I hit 15, go and plant your first oak tree, and as soon as you hit 27, go plant your first apple tree. Go back to planting bagged plants and set your timers. After 34, you can then start the Tith farm, and you can do your herb runs. What I do right before I run my first game of Tith farm is make sure my trees are planted, make sure my ranars are planted, and start running the Tith. After 90 minutes, go and check all my herbs, loot all those, go back to Tith, do another 6 or 7 games, and do another herb run, and by then my first thing of normal oaks are done. And then after that, you'll have to space it out a little bit more for your trees because they'll start to take longer. And then just make sure you include your fruit trees in that rotation, your normal trees whenever they're ready, and while you're power leveling through Tith, just make sure you do your herbs every 90 minutes, and that about wraps it up. If you guys have any more suggestions or want to see anything else, feel free to mention it. Drop a comment. Make sure you subscribe. It helps me a lot, and thank you for watching.